Great news. His Majesty's eldest daughter, Princess Zara, who left our shores 5 years since to go to England, the greatest, the wisest, the most powerful country in the world, has taken a high degree at Girton and is on her way home again, having achieved a complete mastery over all the elements that have tended to raise that great and glorious country to her present preeminent position among civilized nations.
Then, in a few months, Utopia may hope to be completely anglicised.
Absolutely and without a doubt.
But we are very well as we are. Life without a care. Every want supplied by a kind and fatherly monarch, who, despot though he be, has no other thought than to make his people happy. What have we to gain from this great change that is in store for us?
What have we to gain? English tastes, English institutions, and English fashions.
Oh.
England has made herself what she is because in that favoured land everyone has to think for himself. Here we have no need to think because our monarch anticipates all our wants and our political opinions are formed for us by the journals to which we subscribe. Oh, think how much more brilliant this dialogue would have been if we had been accustomed to exercise our reflective powers. They say that in England the conversation of the very meanest is a coruscation of impromptu epigram. Stop! I'm surprised at you. Are you not aware that His Majesty, in his despotic acquiescence with the emphatic wish of his people, has ordered that the Utopian language shall be banished from his court and that all communication shall henceforward be in the English tongue?
Yes, I'm quite aware of it. Although... Stop. Allow me.
Now, what's that for?
Why, I've recently been appointed public exploder to His Majesty, and as I'm constitutionally nervous, I must accustom myself by degrees to the startling nature of my duties. you. Now, as I was about to say, although, as public exploder, I am next in succession to the throne, I nevertheless do my best to fall in with the royal decree. But when I am overmastered by such an indignant sense of overwhelming wrong as I am now, I slip into my native tongue without knowing it. I have been told that in the language of that great and pure nation, such strong expressions do not exist. Consequently, when I want to let off steam, I have no alternative but to say,
What is your grievance?
This. By our constitution, we are governed by a despot who, in theory, absolute, is in practice nothing of the sort, being watched over day and night by two wise men whose duty it is, on his first act of political or social impropriety, to denounce him to me, the public exploder. Then it becomes my duty to blow up His Majesty with dynamite. Allow me. And then, as some consolation for my wounded feelings, I reign in his stead.
Yes. After many unhappy experiments in the direction of an ideal republic, it was found that what may be described as a despotism tempered by dynamite provides on the whole the best description of ruler, an autocrat who dare not abuse his autocratic power.
Well, yes, that's the theory, but in practice, how does it act? Now tell me, do you ever happen to see the Palace Peeper?
Never even heard of the journal.
Well, I'm not surprised, because the King's agents always buy up the entire edition. But I have an aunt who works in the publishing department, and she has supplied me with a copy. Why, it actually teems with circumstantially convincing details of His Majesty's immoralities. If this high-class journal is to be believed, His Majesty is the most peculiar gabble and profligate that ever disgraced an autocratic throne. And do these wise men denounce him to me? Not a bit of it. They wink at his indiscretions. Under the circumstances, I really think that I am justified in saying, I don't care. The occasion demands it.
Pride of Utopia is reaching his mental fertility. For they never make blunder, and no wonder, for the triumphs of infallibility. So make way for the wise men, they are prize men, travel first in the world's university. For lovely this island, which is my land, she has no one to match their immensity.
In every mental law, the state respects and vanity.
We claim to rank before the wisest of humanity.
As gifts of head and heart, we're wasted on utility.
We're cast to play a part of great responsibility.
Our duty is to spy, on nothing's illicit is,
And keep a watchful eye over his eccentricities.
if ever a trick he tries and save us of that penalty. At our decree he dies without the least formality. We fear no rude rebuff on newspaper publicity.
Our word is quite enough, the rest is electricity.
A pound of dynamite explodes in his auriculars.
Not a pleasant sight,
A sight
we'll spare you the particulars.
its force or from?
Scaffio, I think you once told me that you have never loved.
Never. I've often marvelled at the fairy influence which weaves its rosy web about the greatest and wisest of our race. But I thank heaven I have never been subjected to its singular fascination. But oh, Fantis, there is that within me that tells me that when my time does come, the convulsion will be tremendous. When I love, it will be with the accumulated fervour of 65 years. But oh, Fantis, I have an ideal. A semi-transparent being filled with an inorganic pink jelly. And I have not yet seen the woman who approaches with immeasurable distance of it. All are opaque. Opaque! Opaque.
Keep that ideal firmly before you, and love not until you find her. Though but 55, I'm an old campaigner in the battlefields of love. And believe me, it is far better to be as you are, heart-free and happy, than as I am, eternally racked with doubting agonies. Scaffio, the Princess Zara returns from England today.
My poor boy, I see it all.
Oh, Scaffio, she is so beautiful. You smile, for you have not yet seen her. She sailed for England 3 months before you took office.
And is your affection requited?
I do not know, I am not sure. Sometimes I think so, and then come these torturing doubts. I feel sure that she does not regard me with complete indifference, for she never could look at me without having to go to bed with a sick headache.
Well, that is surely something.
Do you think so?
Why, yes. Why, take heart. You are young and beautiful. What more could maiden want?
Ah, Scaffio, you forget, she comes from a land where every youth is as a young Greek god, and where such poor beauty as I can boast is seen at every turn.
Be of good cheer. Marry her, boy, if so your fancy wills, and love will surely come.
You will assist me in this?
Why, surely, silly one. Come, take her. What of Utopia? Remember, we had but to say the word, and the king must give his consent. Is he not our very slave?
Now I may hope indeed. Scaffio, you have placed me on the very pinnacle of human joy.
Let all your doubt take wing, our influence is great. Should paramount our king presume to hesitate, put on the crucial caution him that he will rule disaster grim that must befall to life and limb. Should he rule this harmless way,
This harmless way,
this harmless way,
this harmless way,
this harmless way. It is as say a harmless whim, a harmless whim.
Observe this dance which I employ when I perchance go mad with joy. What sentiment does this express? What sentiment does this express? To bring content and happiness.
Of course it does, of course it does, to bring content and happiness. Of course it does, of course it does, happiness.
Your friendly aid conferred, I need no longer pine. I but to say the word, and lo, the baby is mine. I do not choose to be denied, nor wish to lose a lovely bride. If to refuse the king decide the royal views, then woe betide.
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 The royal views, then woe betide, then woe betide. Is dead my youth, I gladly send, where'er I choose, to serve a friend. What it implies, now try to guess. What it implies, now try to guess. It is complete unselfishness.
Of course it does,
Of course it does. It is complete unselfishness. Of course it does. Of course it does. It's selfishness.
a despot whose tyrannic will is law, whose rule is paramount o'er land and sea, a presence of unutterable awe. But though the awe that I inspire must shrivel with imperial fire all foes that it may chance to touch, to judge by what I see and hear, it does not seem to interfere with popular enjoyment much.
No, no, it does not interfere with our enjoyment much.
Stupendous when we rouse ourselves to strike, resistless when our tyrant thunder peals. We often wonder what obstructions like, or what a contradicted monarch feels. But as it is our royal whim, our royal sails to set and trim, to suit whatever wind may blow, what Buffett's contradiction is, and how a thwarted monarch feels, you probably will never know.
No, no, what thwarted monarch feels, you'll never, never know.
My subjects all, it is your wish emphatic that all Utopia shall henceforth be modelled upon that glorious country called Great Britain. Which some add, but others do not add.
It is!
That being so, as you insist upon it, we have arranged that our two younger daughters, who have been finished by an English lady, a grave and good and gracious English lady, shall daily be exhibited in public, that all may learn what from the English standpoint is looked upon as maidenly perfection. Come hither, daughter,
so good as to provide me with an audience this morning. So, here they are.
Your Majesty wishes to speak to us, we
Yes.
You needn't keep your crown on our account.
I do beg your pardon. I always forget that. Odd, the notion of a king not being allowed to wear one of his own crowns in the presence of two of his own subjects.
Yes. Bizarre, is it not?
Most quaint. But then, it's a quaint world.
Teams with quiet fun. I often think what a lucky thing it is that your Majesty is blessed with such a keen sense of humour.
Do you know, I find it invaluable. Do what I will, I cannot help looking at the humorous side of things, for, properly considered, everything has its humorous side. Even the palace peeper. See here. Yes. Another royal scandal by Junius Junior.
Yes, another one, Majesty.
Yes. And what have we... Oh, how long is this to last by Senex Senior?
How long indeed, Majesty?
Yes, indeed. Oh. Ribble royalty by Mercury Major.
Ribble, Majesty.
Oh, my favourite. Here we are. Where is the public exploder by Mephistopheles Minor?
Where could he be, Majesty?
Well, you know, when I consider that all these articles, these outrageous attacks on my morality are written by me at your command, well, it's one of the funniest things ever to have come within the scope of my experience.
Besides, apart from that, they have a quiet humour of their own which is simply irresistible.
Not bad, I think. Biting, trenchant sarcasm. The rapier, not the bludgeon. That's my line. But then, it's so easy. I'm such a good subject. A bad king, but a good subject. Now, isn't that a capital heading for next week's leading article? And then those stinging little paragraphs about our royal goings-on with our royal second housemaid. Oh, delicately sub-acid, are they not?
My dear King, in that sort of thing no one can hold a candle to you.
But perhaps the crowning joke is the comic opera you've written for us, King Tuppence, or a good deal less than half a sovereign, in which the celebrated English tenor Mr. Wilkinson burlesques your personal appearance and gives grotesque imitations of your royal peculiarities. It's immense.
Yes, that's what I wanted to speak to you about. Now, I've not the least doubt that even that has its humorous side, if one could only see it. As a rule, I'm pretty quick at detecting latent humour, but I confess I do not quite see where it comes in this particular instance. It's so horribly personal.
Personal? Well, yes, of course it's personal, but consider the antithetical humour of the situation.
Yes. I don't think I quite grasped that.
No? You do surprise me. Consider, during the day, thousands tremble at your frown.
Of course.
During the night, between 8 and 11, they roar at it. During the day, your most arbitrary pronouncements are received by your subjects with abject submission. During the night, they shout with joy at your most terrible decrees. It's not every monarch who has the privilege of undoing by night all the despotic absurdities he's committed during the day.
But of course, I see it now. Oh, thank you very much. Yes, I was sure that he had its humorous side, and it was very dull of me not to have seen it before. But as I said just now, it's a quaint world.
Teams with quiet fun.
Yes, properly considered, what a farce life is, to be sure. First you're born, then I'll be bound to find a dozen strangers round. Hello, Christ, the newborn baby, where's my rises, bows politely, mother smiles but not too brightly. Doctor mumbles like a dumb thing, nurse is busy mixing something. Every symptom tends to show you're decidedly de trop.
Ho, 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 ho. Times teetotum if you spin it, gives its quantum once a minute. I go where you hit the pin, and if you fail, the deuce is in it.
You grow up and you discover what it is to be a lover. Some young lady is selected, or perhaps but well connected, whom you hail for love is blind as the queen of fairy kind. Though she's plain, perhaps unsightly, makes her face up places tightly. In her form your fancy traces all the gifts of all the graces. Rivals none the maiden whom, so you take her and she takes you.
Ho, 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 ho. Joke beginning never ceases till your inning time releases. On your way you blindly stray, and day by day the joke increases.
10 years later, time progresses. How's your temper? Things your care. Fancy then her chain relaxes. Rates are facts and so are taxes. Fairy Queen's no longer young. Fairy Queen has got a tongue. Twins have probably intruded, quite unbidden, just as you did. They're of course so on trouble, just like you were only double. Comes at last a final stroke. Time has had its little joke. Ho, 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 ho. David Raven, wife has Grover. Gilbert Sullivan, Mary Clover. Lastly, when it's one and ten. And not till then the joke is over.
Ho, 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 ho. Daily driven, wife as Grover. Ilya Thraven, Mary Clover. Lastly, when 80 and 10. And not till then the joke is over.
It's all very well. I always try to look at the humorous side of things. But I do not think I ought to be allowed to write libels on my own moral character. Naturally, I see the joke of it. Anyone would. But Zara's coming home today, and she's no longer a child, and I confess I would not like her to see my opera, though it's uncommonly well written. And I should be sorry if the palace peeper were to get into her hands, though it's certainly smart, very smart indeed. In fact, it's almost a pity that I have to buy up the entire edition, because it's really too good to be lost. Oh, and Lady Sophie, that blameless type of perfect womanhood. Oh, great heavens, what would she say if the royal second housemaid business happened to meet her pure blue eye?
My monarch is soliloquizing. I will withdraw.
Oh, Lady Sophie, do not leave us. Now, I'll give you 50 chances, and you won't guess who I was thinking of.
Alas, sir, I know too well. Ah, King, it is an old story, and I am well nigh weary of it. Be warned in time. From my heart I pity you, but I am not for you.
But hear what I have to say.
It is useless. Listen. In the course of a long and adventurous career in the principal European courts, it has been revealed to me that I unconsciously exercise a weird and supernatural fascination over all crowned heads. So irresistible is this singular property that there is not a European monarch who has not implored me with tears in his eyes to quit his kingdom and take my fatal charms elsewhere. As time was getting on, it occurred to me that by descending several pegs in the scale of respectability, I might qualify your majesty for my hand. Actuated by this humane motive, and happening to possess respectability enough for 6,
I consented to confer respectability enough for 4 upon your 2 younger daughters. But although I have, alas, only respectability enough for 2 left, there is still, as I gather from the public press of this country, a considerable balance in my favour.
May I ask how you came by that?
It was handed to me by the officer who holds the position of public exploder to your Imperial Majesty.
Then surely, Lady Sophie, surely you are not so unjust as to place any faith in the irresponsible gabble of the society press?
I read on the authority of Senex Senior that your Majesty was seen dancing with your 2nd housemaid on the oriental platform of the Tivoli Gardens. That is untrue?
Absolutely. Our 2nd housemaid has only 1 leg.
How do you know that?
Oh, common report, I give you my honour.
That may be so. I read further, and the statement is vouched for by no less an authority than Mephistopheles Minor, that your Majesty indulges in a bath of hot rum punch every morning. I trust I do not lay myself open to the charge of displaying an indelicate curiosity into the mysteries of the royal dressing room when I ask if there is any foundation for this statement.
None whatever. When our medical advisor exhibits rum punch, it is as a draught and not as a fermentation. As to our bath, our valet glazed the garden hose upon us every morning.
Spare us these unseemly details. Well, you are a despot. Have you taken any steps to slay this scribbler?
Well, I haven't gone as far as all that. After all, it's the poor devil's living, you know.
It's the poor devil's living that surprises me. If this man lies, there is no recognized punishment sufficiently terrible for him.
Well, that's precisely it. I'm waiting for a punishment to be discovered that will exactly meet the enormity of the case. I am in constant communication with the Mikado of Japan, as he is a leading authority on such points. Moreover, I have the ground plans and sectional elevations of several capital punishments in my desk at this moment. Oh, Lady Sophie, as you are powerful, be merciful. Subjected to your heavenly gaze, poetical phrase, my brain is turned completely. Observe me now, no monarch I vow was ever so far afflicted.
I'm pleased with that poetical phrase, a heavenly gift. But though you put it neatly, say what you will, these paragraphs still remain uncontradicted. Come, crush me this contemptible worm. A forcible term, if he assails you wrongly, the rage display, which as you say, has moved your majesty lately.
Oh, I admit that forcible term, contemptible worm, appeals to me most strongly. To treat this pest as you suggest would pain my majesty greatly.
The writer lies.
Yes, for his eye,
He lives, you say.
in a sort of a way.
Then have him shot.
Decidedly not.
Oh, partially cut.
I cannot do that. Oh, royal Rex, a blameless sex, a horse of chocolate shade. I'm pleading vain, I'm never again respect or restrain. Respectable English
We are there from first like gods. On royal yachts with a wave no right and a helmet popped and a tunic tight and a great big boots. We fight the stop and we're not recruited in a uniform. On welcome troop and then it's start. We are there from first like gods. First like gods, first like gods. We are there from first like gods.
These gentlemen I present to you, the pride and boast of their barrack yard. They've taken no such care of me.
Oh, we are there from first like gods. When the tempest rose and the ship went so, you suppose we will no, the farm is lost, the tunic tight and the helmet popped and the rest went right. Welcome to my Ned is gone. We stood at the end of first like gods. First like gods, first like gods. We stood at the end of first like gods. Nice pictures, nice solitary, solo crowd very, what's the duty, so religion, so you know how that was made. That's a call to action cast. We are the escort first like God, first like God, first like God. We are the night, first like God, first like God, first like God, first like God, first like God.
beloved daughter. Why, how well you look and how lovely you have grown.
My dear father, and my two beautiful little sisters.
Not beautiful,
Nice looking. But first, let me present to you the English warrior who commands my escort, and who has taken, such care of me during the voyage, Captain Fitzbattleaxe.
And we are the escort first like God, the tempest rose, the ship went so. Do you suppose we're ill? No, no.
Thank you! Sir, you come from a country where every virtue flourishes. We trust you will not criticize too severely such shortcomings as you may detect in our semi-barbarous society.
Sir, I have eyes for nothing but the blameless and the beautiful.
No, we thank you very much. Oh, he is very polite. Lady Sophie, pray do not leave us.
Sir, your children are young and so far innocent. If they are to remain so, it is necessary that they be removed at once from the contamination of their present disgraceful surroundings.
Oh, dear me, they really shouldn't. Captain Fitzbattleaxe.
Sir?
Your troopers appear to be receiving a troublesome amount of attention from these young ladies. I know how strict you English soldiers are, and I should be extremely distressed if anything occurred to shock their puritanical British sensitiveness.
I don't think there's any chance of that.
You think not? They won't be offended?
Oh no, they're quite hardened to it. They get a great deal of that sort of thing standing sentry at Horse Guards.
It's English, is it?
It's particularly English.
Oh, well, of course, that's quite right. Pray proceed, ladies. It's particularly English. Come, my daughter, for we have much to say to each other.
Farewell, Captain Fitzbattleaxe. I cannot thank you too emphatically for the devoted care with which you watched over me during our long and eventful voyage. Oh, gallant soldier, brave and true, intended field and journey. I grieve to have occasion to so very long a journey. The greatest soldier gives up on his home and island beauty, when solemn by a trumpet full of regimental duty.
A British soldier.
Reconciles him to his uneventful calling. When soldier seeks utopian glades in charge of youth and beauty, then pleasure merely masquerades as regimental duty.
Tun tun ra ra ra. Trumpet call and trumpet sorrow. That's some call and that's some call. We are the escort first like drum, first like drum, first like drum. We are the escort first like drum, first like drum.
Tell me, is she not beautiful? Can you wonder that I love her so passionately?
No, she's extraordinarily, miraculously lovely. Good heavens, what a singularly beautiful girl.
I knew you would say so.
What exquisite charm of manner. What surprising delicacy of gesture. Why, she's a goddess, a very goddess.
Yes. She's an attractive girl.
Attractive? Are you blind? She's entrancing, enthralling, intoxicating. Bless my heart, what is the matter with me?
Yes, you promised to help me get her father's consent, you know.
Promise? Ah, yes. But the convulsion has come, me boy. It is she, my ideal. Wait, what's this? Fantasy. I'm going mad, mad for the love of this girl.
Scavio, control yourself, I beg. The girl is perfectly opaque. Besides, remember, neither of us can succeed without the other. You can't concede without my consent, you know.
You dare threaten? Oh, I'm grateful. When you first came to me, palsied with love of this girl, and implored my immediate did I not unhesitatingly offer it? And this is the return you make. Out, ingrate. Oh, dear, what is the matter with me?
Dear me, I'm afraid we're interrupting a tete-a-tete.
No, you come most appropriately. To be brief, we, this man and I, love you madly, passionately.
But we haven't yet settled which of us is to marry you.
Sorry. This is very awkward.
I am paralyzed by the singular radiance of your extraordinary loveliness.
I know I am incoherent. I never was this way before. It shall not occur again. I shall be fluent presently.
Oh dear, Captain Fitzbattleaxe, what is to be done?
Leave it to me. I'll manage it. It's a common situation. Why not handle it in the English fashion?
The English fashion?
What is that?
It's very simple. In England, when two gentlemen are in love with the same lady, and until it is decided which gentleman is to blow out the brains of the other, it is provided by the Rival Admirers Clauses Consolidation Act, RACA, that the lady be entrusted to an officer of the Household Cavalry, a stakeholder, who is bound to hand her over to the survivor on the tontine principle in a good condition of substantial and decorative repair.
Reasonable wear and tear and damage by fire accepted.
Exactly.
That seems very reasonable. What do you say? Shall we entrust her to this officer of household cavalry? It will give us time.
I am not yet in a condition to consider the matter coldly, but if he is an officer of the household cavalry, and if the princess consents.
Alas, dear sirs, I have no alternative under the Rival Admirers Clauses Consolidation Act.
Good. Then it's settled. It's understood, I think, around that by the English custom bound, I hold the lady safe and sound in trust for either rival, until you clearly testify by sword or pistol by and by, which gentleman prefers to die, and which prefers survival.
It's understood, I say, around that by the English custom bound, to hold the lady safe and sound prepared to meet his rival, until he clearly testified by sword or pistol by and by, which gentleman prefers to die, then which prefers survival.
If I should die and he should live to you without reserve, a heart so young and sensitive and all her predictions.
If he should live and I should die, I see no kind of reason why you should not, if you wish it, try to gain her young affections.
I should die if you
Who will live and die, I see no kind of reason I should not live or wish and try to gain her young affections.
If I should die and you submit to the condition of your son, I get a hot and young
sensitive as possibly different. If I should live and neither die, I see no kind of reason why I should not take my wishes. Try to gain your young affections.
Daughter, at last we are alone together.
Yes, and I'm glad we are, for I want to speak to you very seriously. You know this paper?
Where in the world did you get that from?
It was given to me by Lady Sophie, my sister's governess.
Lady Sophie's an angel, but I do sometimes wish she'd mind her own business. Oh, it's it is rather humorous.
I see nothing humorous in it, only that you, the despotic king of this country, are made a subject of the most scandalous insinuations. Why do you permit these things?
Well, it appeals to my sense of humour. It's the only comic paper in Utopia, and I wouldn't be without it for the world.
If it had any literary merit, I could understand it.
Oh, it has literary merit. Distinctly, it has literary merit.
My dear father, it is mere grammatical, ungrammatical twaddle.
That is not ungrammatical. I can't allow that. Unpleasantly personal, perhaps, but written with an epigrammatical point that I flatter myself is very rare nowadays. Very rare indeed.
Why do they represent you with such a big nose?
Eh? Oh, yes, it is a big one. Well, the fact is, that in cartoons of a comic paper, the size of your nose always varies inversely as the square of your popularity. It's the rule.
Then you must be at a tremendous discount right now. I see notice of a new piece called King Tuppence, in which an English tenor has the audacity to personate you on a public stage. It seems strange to me that any English tenor should lend himself to such degrading personalities.
Oh, he's not really English. As it happens, he's Utopian, but he calls himself English.
Calls himself English?
Yes, bless you. They wouldn't listen to any tenor who didn't call himself English.
And you permit this insolent buffoon to caricature you in a pointless burlesque. My dear father, if you really were a free agent, you would never allow these outrages.
My dear Zara, I admit I am not altogether a free agent. I am controlled. I try to make the best of it, but sometimes I find it very difficult. Very difficult indeed. Nominally a despot, I am, between ourselves, the helpless tool of two unscrupulous wise men who insist on me falling in with their wishes and who threaten to denounce me for immediate explosion if I remonstrate.
Oh, my poor father. Now listen to me. With a view to remodelling the political and social institutions of Utopia, I have brought with me the 6 representatives that have made England the great, powerful and blameless country which the European civilization have declared it to be. Place yourself unreservedly into the hands of these gentlemen, and they will reorganize your country on a footing that will allow you to defy your persecutors. They're all now washing their hands. Shall I introduce them?
Oh, my dear Zara, I will consent to anything that will release me from the abominable tyranny of these 2 men. What ho! Without there! Summon my court without an instant's delay. My beloved daughter most thoughtfully has brought with her from England the types of all the causes that have made that great and glorious country what it is.
Oh, joy and bounty!
Why, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean?
Attend to me, Utopian populace, yes, oh, Pacific Island viviparians. All in the abstract times of godly grace, yet when
subject I can scout and demonstrate beyond all possibility of doubt that whether you're an honest man or whether you're a thief depends on whose solicitor has given me my brief.
Yes, yes, yes. And whether you're an honest man or whether you're a thief depends on whose solicitor has given you his brief. Ooh-la-li-ka, ooh-la-li-ka, ooh-la-li-ka.
What these may be, Utopian zone, perhaps you'd hardly guess. They're types of England's physical and moral cleanliness. They said, and what a tinkling of purities against. You cleanse our streets from overflow and purify our state.
Yes, 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 what reputations I'll devise, and presentations scrutinize. New plays I'll read with jealous eyes, and purify the stage.
What reputations he'll revise, and presentations scrutinize. New plays he reads with jealous eyes, and purifies the stage.
Yes, 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 in towns I make improvements great, which go to swell the county rate. I dwell in houses, sanitate and purify the halls.
In towns he makes improvements great, which go to swell the county rate. He dwelling houses sanitate and purify the halls. Ooh-la-li-ka, ooh-la-li-ka, ooh-la-li-ka.
A company promoted this with special education, which teaches what contento means and also reputation. To speculators, here's a prize, a glad financial leaven. Time was when two were company, but now it must be seven.
Yes, 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 time was when two were company, but now it must be seven. To run this road before it through, I've hardly advocated. In India, plots and country shops, I've even speculated. Then mine of gold of wealth and toast of sexually I quoted, and certain forging and whose stone occasionally quoted. But not all late, I always call for stock exchange quotation. Not be too great and none too small for company vacation.
Yes, 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 no speak too great and not too small for company vacation.
And lastly I present Great Britain's proudest boast, who from the blows of foreign foes protects her seagirt coast. And if you ask me in respectful tone, I'll tell you how you may protect your own.
I'm Captain Corcoran, KCB. I'll teach you how to rule the sea and terrify the simple Gaul, and how the Saxon and the Celt the Europe-shaking powers that build, with Maxim, gun and Northern bell, or will when the occasion calls. If sailor likey, play your cards, and fill your sails and lower your yards. Abstain your march, you'll never want them more. Though we're no longer hard to vote, yet we can steer and we can stow. And thanks to coal and thanks to coke, we've never run a ship ashore.
What never?
No, never.
What never?
Well, hardly ever.
A ship ashore. Give me cheers and preachers for the town, never a ship ashore. Give me cheers and preachers for never ship ashore. Oh, then, in times of England's land, in heaven lights and land, in yesterday and yesterday, and brought you to
Ye wanderers from a mighty state,
Ye wanderers from a mighty state,
oh, teach us how to legislate.
teach us how to legislate. Your light is what will carry weight in your attentive ears. Oh, teach the natives of this land, oh, teach the natives of this land, who are not quick to understand, who are not quick to understand. Ye wanderers from a mighty state, oh, teach us how to legislate. Your light is white as rain, will carry weight.
Increase your army, purify your ports, get up in your steam, and touch your canvas shot.
Speak on both sides, teach your sluggish brains.
Widen your thoroughfares and flush your drains. Utopia is much too big for one small head. I'll float it as a company limited.
A company limited, what may that be? The term, I rather think, is new to me.
Company limited, what may that be?
What does he mean? What does he mean? Give us a kind of clue. What does he mean? What does he mean? What is he going to do?
Some 7 men form an association, impossible or peers and baronets. They then proceed to make a declaration to what extent they mean to pay their debt. That's called their capital. If they are wary, they will not make it at a sum immense. The figure's immaterial, it may vary from 18 million down to 18 pence. I should put it rather low. The good sense of doing so will be evident at once to any debtor. When it's left for you to say the amount you mean to pay, why the lower you can put it at the better.
When it's left for you to say what amount you mean to pay, why the lower you can put it at the better.
They then proceed to trade with all who trust them, quite irrespective of their capital. It's shady, but it's sanctified by custom. If you're a banker, you'll be doing very well. You can't embark on trading too tremendous. It's simply fair and based on common sense. If you succeed, your profits are tremendous, and if you fail, pop goes your 18 pence. Make the money spin the spin, for you only stand to win, and you'll never with dishonesty be twitted, for nobody can know to a million or so to what extent your capital's committed.
For nobody can know to a million or so to what extent your capital's committed.
To grief and creditors are craving, for nothing that is planned by mortal head is certain in this vale of sorrow, saving that one's liability is limited. Do you suppose that signifies perdition? If so, you're but a monetary dunce. You merely serve a winding up petition and start another company at once. Though a Brownson you may be in your own capacity, as a company you've come to utter sorrow. But the liquidators say, never mind, you needn't pay. So you start another company tomorrow.
Well, the liquidators say, never mind, you needn't pay. So you start another company tomorrow.
At first sight, it strikes us as dishonest. But if it's good enough for virtuous England, the first commercial country in the world, it's good enough for us.
You'd best take care, please recollect, we have not been consulted.
And do I understand you that Great Britain upon this joint stock principle is governed?
We haven't come to that exactly, but we're heading rapidly in that direction. The date's not distant.
We will be before. We'll go down to posterity, renowned as the first sovereign in Christendom, who registered his crown and country under the Joint Stock Companies Act of 62. Henceforward of the verity, our famous fleet will go down to posterity, and so will the king.
If you're the maternity, our wishes not to blink, you'll go down in posterity, but surely you think you'll go up to posterity if I click the floor. You'll go down to posterity, we think we ought to know. You'll go up, blow up with dynamite. You'll go up, of course he will, you're right, up.
general singers above, that doesn't admit of a question, should keep himself quiet, attend to his diet, and carefully nurse his digestion. But when he is madly in love, it's certain to tell on his singing. You can't do grammatics with proper emphatics when anguish your bosom is ringing. When distracted with worries aplenty, and his pulse is 120, and his fluttering bosom the slave of mistrust is, a tenor can't do himself justice. Now observe. You see, I can't do myself justice. I could sing if my father were Mark. It's easy enough when you're acting, but when one's emotion is born of devotion, you shouldn't be over-exacting. One ought to be firm as a rock, to venture a shaking vibrato. When fervor's expected, keep cool and collected, and never attempt agitato. But of course when his tongue is of leather, and his lips appear pasted together, and his sensitive palate as dry as a crust is, a tenor can't do himself justice. Now observe. It's no use. I can't do myself justice.
Why, Arthur, what does it matter when the higher qualities of the heart are all that can be desired? The higher qualities of the voice are matters of comparative insignificance. Who thinks lightly of the coconut because it is husky? Besides, you are not singing for an engagement. You have it already.
How good and wise you are. How unerringly practiced your brain separates the wheat from the chaff, the material from the merely incidental.
My Girton training, Arthur. At Girton, all is wheat and idle chaff is never heard within its walls. But tell me, is not all going marvellously well? Have not our flowers of progress more than justified their name?
We have indeed done our best. Captain Corcoran and I have, in concert, thoroughly remodelled the sister services, and on so sound a basis that the South Pacific trembles at the name of Utopia.
How clever of you!
Clever? Not a bit. It's as easy as possible when the Admiralty and Horse Guards aren't there to interfere. And so with the others, freed from their trammels imposed upon them by idle acts of Parliament. All have given their natural talents full play, and have introduced reforms which, even in England, were never dreamt of.
But perhaps the most beneficent change of all has been effected by Mr. Goldberry, who, discarding the exploded theory that some strange magic lies hidden in the number 7, has applied the limited liability principle to individuals. And now, every man, woman and child is a company limited, with liability restricted to the amount of his declared income. There is not a christened baby in Utopia who has not issued his own little prospectus.
Marvellous is the power of a civilization that can transmute, at a word, a limited income into an income limited.
Reform has not stopped here. It has been applied even to the costume of our people. Discarding their own barbaric dress, the natives of our country have unanimously adopted the tasteful fashions of England in all their entirety. Scaffio and Fantus have undertaken a contract to supply the whole of Utopia with clothing based upon the most approved English models. And the first drawing room under the new state of things is to be held here this evening.
But drawing rooms are always held in the afternoon.
Ah, we've improved upon that. We all look so much better by candlelight. And when I tell you, dearest, that my court train has just arrived, You understand that I'm longing to go and try it on.
Then we must part.
Necessary for a time.
Just as I wanted to tell you with all the passionate enthusiasm of my nature, how deeply, how devotedly I love you.
Hush. Are these not the accents of a heart that truly feels? True love does not indulge in declamation. Its voice is sweet and soft and low. The west wind whispers when he woos the poplars.
Words of love too loudly spoken ring their own untimely knell. Noisy vows are rudely broken, soft as song of fellow man. Whisper sweetly, whisper slowly, hour by hour and day by day. Sweet and low as accents holy are the notes of lovers'
Sweet and low, sweet and low, sweet and low as accents holy are the notes of lovers' name, are the notes of lovers' name. Let the contra flush with glory bid his noisy clarions break. Lovers tell their utter story in a whispered virelay. False is he whose vows alluring make the listening echoes ring. Sweet and low and all enduring are the songs that lovers sing. Sweet and low, sweet and low, sweet and low and all enduring are the songs that lovers sing. Are the songs that lovers sing. Sweet and low, sweet and
To a monarch who has been accustomed to the uncontrolled use of his limbs, the costume of a British field marshal is perhaps at first sight a little cramping. You're sure this is all right? It's not a practical joke, is it? No one has a keener sense of humour than I have, but the first statutory cabinet council of Utopia Limited must be conducted with dignity and impressiveness. Now, where are the other 5 who signed the Articles of Association?
Sir, they are here.
Now, gentlemen, our daughter holds her first drawing room in half an hour, and there will be time at the interval to have our first half-yearly report. I am necessarily unfamiliar with the forms of the English Cabinet Council. Perhaps the Lord Chamberlain would be so kind as to put us in the way of doing things properly and with due regard to the ceremonial.
Certainly, nothing simpler. Kindly bring the chairs forward. The King, of course, will preside.
Like this?
Yes, like this.
We take it that this is all right. You're not making fun of us. This is in accordance with the practice of the Court of St. James's.
Well, it is in accordance with the practice at the Court of St. James's Hall.
Well, it seems odd, but never mind. Society has quite forsaken all her wicked courses, which empties our police courts and abolishes divorces.
Divorce is nearly obsolete in England.
Let's be shown to undeserving rank and splendor, for the higher his position is, the greater the offender.
That's a maxim that is prevalent in England.
No peeress at our drawing room before our presence passes, who wouldn't be accepted by the lower middle classes. Each shady dame, whatever be her rank, is found out neatly.
In short, this happy country has been anglicised completely. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicising we have brought about Utopia quite another land. In her enterprising woman, she is England with improvements which are dutifully offered to our motherland.
Our city we have beautified, we've done it willy-nilly, and all it isn't Belgrave Square is Strand and Piccadilly.
We haven't any slobberies in England.
We've solved the labour question with discrimination polished, so poverty is obsolete and hunger is abolished.
We're going to abolish it in England.
The Chamberlain, our native state, has perched beyond all question of risky situation and indelicate suggestion. No peace is tolerated if it's cost you indiscreetly.
In short, this happy country has been anglicised completely. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicising we have brought about Utopia quite another land. And her enterprising woman, she is England with improvements which are dutifully offered to our motherland.
Our peerage we've remodelled on an intellectual basis, which certainly is rough on our hereditary races.
We're going to remodel it in England.
The brewers and the cotton lords no longer seek admission, and literary merit meets with proper recognition.
As literary merit does in England.
Who knows but we may count among our intellectual chickens, like you an Earl of Thackeray, or perhaps a Duke of Dickens. Lord Follies and Viscount Millais, when they come we'll welcome sweetly.
In short, this happy country has been anglicised completely. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicising we have brought about Utopia quite another land. In her enterprising woman, she is England with improvements which are dutifully offered to our motherland. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicising we have brought about Utopia quite another land. In her enterprising woman, she is England with improvements which are dutifully offered to our motherland. Hey!
off on our hereditary races.
We're going to remodel it in England.
The brewers and the cotton lords no longer seek admission, and literary merit meets with proper recognition.
As literary merit drowns in England.
Who knows but we may count among our intellectual chickens, like you and Earl of Thackeray, or perhaps a Duke of Dickens. Lord Farley's and Viscount Millett, when they come we'll welcome sweetly.
In short, this happy country has been anglicised completely, completely, completely. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicising we have brought about Utopia quite another land. In an enterprising movement, she is England with improvements which we dutifully offer to our motherland. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicising we have brought about Utopia quite another land. In an enterprising movement, she is England with improvements which we dutifully offer to our motherland. Hey!
Ready for a change of people party. Certainly is rough old Gordon Brown and all his party.
Yes, Gordon Brown is going down in England.
The Tories and the Liberals no longer seek admission, and what they do and what they are we do not hear a word of.
We've never even heard of them in England.
Election day is scheduled for the 5th of May precisely. When all is done and the votes are in, it will be settled nicely. The prisons and the NHS will all be settled neatly.
In short, this happy country has been messed up by completely, completely, completely. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicising we have brought about Utopia quite another land. In her enterprising movement, she is England with improvements which we dutifully offer to our motherland. It really is surprising what a thorough anglicising we have brought about Utopia quite another land. In her enterprising movement, she is England with improvements which we dutifully offer to our motherland. Hey!
Now then, for our first drawing room. Where are the princesses? What an extraordinary thing it is that ever since European looking glasses were supplied to the royal bedrooms, our daughters are invariably late.
Sir, their highnesses await your pleasure in the anteroom.
Oh, very good. Then kindly do me the honour of asking them to enter at once. We are about to attempt a very solemn ceremonial, so no giggling, if you please. My Lord Chamberlain, we are ready.
Then, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in his place. The king will take his place.
Very good.
And of course will be so obliging as to embrace all the debutantes.
What? Must I really?
It's absolutely indispensable.
Oh, more jam for the palace peeper. Is everyone in his place?
Everyone in his place.
Oh, then let the revels commence.
The Right Honourable Anonymity. Lady Victoria Falls. Miss Dot Matrix. Lady Alice Band. The Right Honourable Wendy Boat comes in. Miss Tony takes a minute. The Right Honourable Ina Monastery Garden. Miss Lena Bacon. The Right Honourable Eva Vestoff. Lady Philadelphia. Miss Hazelnut. Lady Minnie Strone.
slighting every harmless scheme in which we both engage. In which we both engage.
We think it is our turn.
We do.
We think our turn has come.
We do.
These Englishmen, they must prepare to seek at once their native air. The king has heretofore we swear shall be beneath our thumb.
He shall
be beneath our thumb.
He shall. And this is me, and this will do. If you marry me, then I'll marry you. And this will do, and this must be, and this is me, and this will do.
This won't do! Gentlemen, really, such an unseemly display of energy within the royal precincts is entirely unpardonable. Pray, what do you complain of?
What do we complain of? Why, through the innovations introduced by your flowers of progress, all our harmless schemes to make provision for our old age are in ruins. Our matrimonial agency is at a standstill. Our cheap sherry business is bankrupt. Our army clothing contracts are paralyzed. Even the court paper, the palace paper, is practically defunct.
Defunct, is that so? Oh dear, dear. I'm truly sorry.
Are you aware that Sir Bailey Barr has introduced a law of libel whereby the editors of scurrilous newspapers are publicly flogged, as in England, and that 6 of our editors have resigned in succession? Now the editor of a scurrilous newspaper can stand a good deal. He takes a private thrashing as a matter of course. It's considered in his salary. But no gentleman likes to be publicly flogged.
Oh, naturally, I shouldn't like it myself.
Then, our burlesque theatre is absolutely ruined.
Oh, dear me. Well, theatrical property is not what it was.
Are you aware that the Lord Chamberlain, who has his own views as to the best means of elevating the national drama, has declined to license any play that is not in blank verse and 300 years old, as in England?
And if that were not enough, the county council has ordered that a 4-feet wall be built up against the proscenium to prevent against fire, as in England.
It's so hard on the company, who are liable to be roasted alive, and this has to be met by vastly increased salaries, as in England.
You probably know that we've contracted to supply the entire nation with a full English costume.
Yes, I've heard.
What you probably do not know is that when we send our bills, the customers plead liability limited to an issued capital of 18 pence and apply to be dealt with under the Winding Up Act, as in England.
Really, gentlemen, this is very irregular. If you would be so good as to formulate a detailed list of your grievances in writing, addressed to the Secretary of Utopia Limited, they will be laid before the board in due course at their next monthly meeting.
Are we to understand that we are defied?
That is the idea I intended to convey.
Defied? We are defied.
Take care. You know our powers. Trifle with us and you die. Ha! You think that when banded in unity, we can both be defied with impurity? You are sadly misled of ability.
If you value repose and tranquility, you'll revert to a state of docility or prepare to regret your temerity.
If my voice is unduly refractory, you may find it a course satisfactory at an early board meeting to show it up. Though if proper excuse you can company, you may wind up a limited company. You cannot conveniently blow it up. Whene'er a chance to baffle you, I also dance a step or two. Of this now guess the hidden sense, of this now guess the hidden sense.
Of course it does, of course it does, it means complete indifference. Of course it does, of course it does, indifference. As we've a dance for every mood, a part of what we make on food. This may be remorselessness, remorselessness, it's not remorselessness.
He's right, you know. We are helpless. He's no longer a human being. He's a corporation. And as long as he confines himself to his articles of association, we can't touch him. What are we to do?
Do? Raise a revolution! Revoke the Act of 62, reconvert the king to a private individual, and insist on his immediate explosion. Ah, Tamara, you're just the very man I want.
Certainly. Allow me.
Bah!
It's rude.
We've no time for idle forms. Do you wish to succeed to the throne?
Naturally.
Then you won't unless you follow us. The king has defied us, and as things stand, we are helpless. So are you. We must devise a plot at once to bring the people around his ears.
A plot of superhuman subtlety. Do you have such a thing about you?
I've got one in my dressing room.
No, wait. We haven't time. We must concoct one at once. There is not a moment to spare.
With widely blame upon the spot of private plot, we'll plan the most ingenious private plots in private plots began. That's understood, so far we've got, and striking while the iron's hot. We'll now determine like a shot the details of his private plot.
I think we ought.
Such bosh I never heard. Ah, happy thought!
How utterly dashed absurd.
I'll tell you how. Why, what put that in your head?
I've got it now.
Oh, put him away to bed. Oh, put him to bed. Put him to bed.
Why, me to bed?
Yes, certainly put him to bed.
But bless me, can't you see?
Do listen to me, I pray. It certainly seems to me.
Ah, this is the only way.
It's rubbish, absurd, you growl.
You talk ridiculous stuff. You're dribbling bargain now.
You're a fapping and rain, oh bluff, you're a rain, oh bluff.
You're dribbling bargain now. You're dribbling bargain.
So far we haven't quite solved the plot, they're not a very ingenious plot, but don't be unhappy, it's still an attack, we presently hit on a capital plot.
Suppose we all.
Now there, I think you're right. Then we might all. That's true, we certainly might. I'll tell you what.
We will if we possibly can. Then on the spot. Bravo, a capital plan. It's exceedingly neat and new.
Exceedingly new and neat. I fancy that will do.
It's certainly very complete.
Well done, you sly old sap. Bravo, you're cunning on more.
You're very ingenious, chap.
You intellectual soul.
You're very ingenious, chap. You're very ingenious, chap. At last a capital plan we've got. We won't say how and we won't say what. He's saving my noddle now. What we'll talk on the side of the villain's capital plot. At length the capital plan we've got. We won't say how and we won't say what. He's saving my noddle now. What we'll talk on the side of the villain's capital plot.
Drawing room, allowing for a slight difficulty with the trains and a little want of familiarity with the use of the rouge-pot, it was on the whole a meritorious affair.
My dear Dramilly, it redounds infinitely to your credit.
One or two judicious innovations, I think.
Admirable. The cup of tea and the plate of mixed biscuits were a cheap and effective inspiration.
My idea entirely. It's never been done before.
Pretty little maid, the king's youngest daughters, but timid.
Oh yes, that will soon wear off. They're young.
That'll wear off. But here they come, by George, and without the dragon. I wonder what they've done with her.
Oh, if you please, Lady Sophie has sent us in here because Zara and Captain Fitzbattle are going on in the garden in a manner which no well-conducted young ladies ought to witness.
Indeed, we are much obliged to her ladyship.
Are you? I wonder why. Don't tell us if it's rude.
Oh, no, not at all. We are obliged to Lady Sophie, for she has afforded us the pleasure of seeing you.
I don't think you ought to talk to us like that. It's calculated to turn our heads. Attractive girls cannot be too particular. Oh, pray do not take advantage of our unprotected innocence.
Pray be reassured you are in no danger whatever.
But may I ask if this extreme delicacy, this shrinking sensitiveness, is a general characteristic of utopian young ladies?
Oh no, we are crack specimens. We are the pick of the basket. Would you mind not coming quite so near? Thank you. And please don't look at us like that. It unsettles us. And we don't like it. At least, we do like it. But it's wrong. We have enjoyed the inestimable privilege of being educated by a well-refined and easily shocked English lady on the strictest English principles.
But my dear young lady.
Oh, don't. You mustn't. It's too affectionate. It really doesn't settle us.
And are you really under the impression that English girls are so ridiculous, demure? Why, an English girl of the highest type is the best, the bravest, the brightest, and the most beautiful creature that heaven has conferred upon this world of ours. She is frank, fearless, and open-hearted, and never shows in a more favourable a light as when she gives her own blameless influences full play.
Oh, you shocking story!
No, I'm speaking the strict truth. Listen, I'll tell you all about her. A wonderful joy our eyes to bless. In her magnificent comeliness is an English girl of 11 stone 2 and 5'10" in her dancing shoe. She follows the hound and on she pounds, the field tails off and the moss diminished. Over the hedges and through she bound, straight as a crow confined to finish. At cricket her king will lose or win, she and her maids on grass and clover, 11 maids out, 11 maids in, and perhaps an occasional maiden over. Go search the world and search the sea, then come you home and sing with me. There's no such gold and no such pearl as a bright and beautiful English girl. With a 10-mile spin she stretches her limbs, she golfs, she punts, she rows, she swimmed, she sings, she plays, she dances too, from 10 or 11 till all is blue. At ball or drum till school hours come, chaperones fun conceals her yawning, you waltz away like a teetotum and never goes home till day's dawning. On tennis they share her favours fair, her eyes are dance and her cheeks are glowing. Down comes her hair, but what does she care? It's all her own and it's worth the showing. Go search the world and search the sea, then come you home and sing with me. There's no such gold and no such pearl as a bright and beautiful English girl. Her soul is sweet as the ocean air, for prudery knows no haven there. To find more modesty, please admire, with a constant blush and the downcast eye.
contentment brings in every pure enjoyment wealthy, blithe and a beautiful bird she sings, for body and mind are hale and healthy. Her eyes they thrill with right goodwill, her heart is as light as a floating feather, pure and bright as a mountain rill that leaps and laughs in the highland heather. Go search the world and search the sea, then come you home and sing with me. There's no such gold and no such pearl as a bright and beautiful English girl.
Then I may sing and play,
You may.
ride with laugh and shout,
No doubt.
whose maxims you endorse,
Of course.
whose logics great or fine.
And
Then I may sing and play, and I may laugh and shout, and won't exclaim or
Whatever you are, be that. Whatever you say, be true. Be honest in fact, straightforwardly act. Be nobody else but you.
Give every answer pat, your character true and firm, and when it is right, view them with the type of a capital English girl.
Oh, sweet surprise,